Today we build the Tron 7.0 Elite from Tron Helicopters. All right, welcome back. So we're here to put this thing together and get started. As usual, I like to start with the pieces that are already put together and just quickly undo them and then, put them back together with Loctite and move to the next part. For me, I feel like it's faster to do it that way. Of course, you can do it however you choose to. The manual is still being worked on at the time of this video. So I do have a sort of like beta copy of it to kind of follow along with. But again, I just typically grab all the big pieces and do all of the necessary Loctiting and checking for grease and things like that. So obviously with the tail case, we're just going to pop that apart. I'm not going to go into a long video of that, really and truly. Just going to show it to you right now and then come back and show it to you looking exactly the same. But being freshly Loctited and of course lubed. But I may show you what's going on inside the tail grip here. I do want to show you what's going on inside of the head here. I did loosen this up just slightly so we could kind of take that apart for a moment. I wanted to show you this tool one more time. I know there might have been some confusion on what the heck it is. But this is what's going to go down inside. See, I don't know if I can get this good on camera. You can see the dust cover that's in there. So you're going to take this, which has the threaded side. You're going to apply it right there, direct center. Screw this in till it's snug. And when I was doing the unboxing, I did call this a grease port. It's actually not. It's what holds this dust cap in. So that you'll see here in just a second, it actually is in there with some force. It does stick pretty well. So this is just for safety precaution to make sure that it doesn't go anywhere. But as you can see now, we can kind of give this a quick little tug. I'd already taken it out once already, but you can see there's an O-ring and it's just a dust cap. That's what it really is. And so you can see down in there, there's the normal bolt in there that goes inside the head. And when you get done, you, of course, put this back in place and give it a little shove. I'll make sure this is seating correctly. And of course, once you get it down in there and you unscrew this back out, and then, of course, you would then reapply this guy to make sure that it stays. And so it doesn't come out. And I know you can't probably see that on camera. And then it snugs up. But right here, there's like the screw extrudes out the back side here and just acts as a place to keep it from popping out. There's a little arm on there, tab, whatever. But yeah, keeps that from moving around. Pretty awesome. So we definitely will be getting this put back together. I will show you what's going on inside the head, of course, and because it is a little bit different than the Advance. And yeah, we'll go ahead and start there. We'll start with the swash of getting that Loctited, of course, the tail Loctited, and then, of course, the head. We'll come back and talk about what's going on in the inside. Maybe also with one of the sides of the tail blade grip as well. Okay? All right, so we'll... Okay, so we have got the swash plate together. There was no real trickery to this. It's exactly the way it always is. I use a pretty strong Loctite on these because I don't ever want these backing out. So that's just personal preference. Again, make sure on this bolt here, screw here, that you snug it down until you feel resistance in the movement, and then back it off a quarter turn or whatever you feel is necessary. But use a Loctite, like a red Loctite or something, to make sure that whenever you get it set, you allow the Loctite to do its job and dry and cure where this does not come out either. So just like all the rest of the Trons that we've worked on, same deal. I did neglect to do these. I'm going to have to go back and do those. I totally forgot. But got all of these done. I did. Let's touch on the main head first here, the main rotor head. Of course, got all this Loctited up. Inside here, it is no different than it normally is. There is the thrust bearings along with one of the radial bearings on the front of it there, and of course then one following up on the back. What I do want to throw in here is to talk about the inside of the head here. I took a snapshot of the manual. I'm hoping that we can include that in this video here. But essentially, it is a massive piece of Delrin that goes all the way until, here, to the edge of this pivot, Delrin piece here. But the inside of here, there are 3 O-rings that go around that Delrin in a groove. And again, hopefully I can show you on a screenshot here as I'm talking about it. But at any rate, they were very tight in there. I did not want to take them out. And even the manual says that there is no need to do that, that they are in fact greased and put in there, to specification, so that we don't have to do that. So I did not want to go through the trouble of trying to pull those out of there for fear that I might mess something up and then I wouldn't be able to finish this. So I thought to myself, you know what, we'll just go ahead and trust that and leave that because the manual said to, and we'll move on. I'll see if we can't do the picture there. But at any rate, this is, of course, going to go on as it always does, just like this. The reason I'm doing this is I wanted to show you guys this little dust cap. But let me get a tool here and we'll get this screwed. I've already got this Loctited. Just to let you know too, inside of the blade grip here with the bearings, the thrust bearings, that they are very greased, and there's no reason to actually take the head apart, but I am very old school. I can't help myself. I have to do it. But just know that in a pinch, that you won't need grease for that because it's already done for you from the factory. All right, so I did already put some Loctite on this main screw here. Actually, make sure too on these main bolts here that you do in fact clean these off. Mine were kind of dirty from the factory. That happens sometimes, but just make sure that you do in fact take time to, take care of that. That's important that you do that. Let's see here. I need to pop this back off. Sorry, I got midstream of thought here, and I'm going to have to take this back off because I need to tighten it up. So let me pull this back apart here, this little standoff screw here that holds the dust cap in. We'll pull this dust cap out, tighten the head up, and then we'll move on. Okay, so we got that out. I'm going to put my tool back together here. And of course, let's give this I might have to pull that off one more time. But anyway, we can go ahead and tighten this up. All right. All right. Ugh. Just give it a good once over, call it done. All right, so we're gonna put this back in. Now, I did damage mine, and maybe it's important that I just admit this to you guys. I don't know if you can see it here, right here. When I was screwing that, the screw that keeps it, locked in place here, it actually started digging into this little Delrin, piece here. So you wanna make sure that when you're putting this inside the head, that you do it correctly. It is in fact seated, and make sure without a doubt. Now I'm applying a little bit of grease to the edge of this because I want it to go in nicely. Part of the reason what I was having troubles with is that the the O-ring that is around this. Let me get it in focus there. There we go. You know, it was kind of squeezing out a little bit of the edges of the head. And so on this side as well as on this side. So when you're putting this together, make sure that you kind of come in here with your thumbnail, if you got thumbnails, kind of make sure you get that and just kind of slowly work it down in there. And there should be kind of like a little pop where it kind of sets in and does what it's supposed to do. If it doesn't, that's okay too. But I just want to make sure that this, in fact, there we go. Yep, it's now down in there. So now I can put this screw back in here and know that it's not going to gouge up my dust cap. And I got to change bits again here. Hang on. And this was already pre-Loctited as well. But we're going to try and put a little bit back on since I took some off. Okay. And now we're going to screw that guy back down in there. And it should seat nicely. Yeah, there we go. Perfect. Okay. Now, these screws here, also want to make note, when you're using your 1.5 and you're tightening these down, make sure that you just snug them and then just give a little bit of pressure. Don't try to go a 1/4 turn or 1/8 of a turn, because you will strip these, and or you'll strip your tool. So just make sure that you just snug these, let the Loctite do its job. Same with this here. You don't have to go crazy. All right, so earlier we had a little bit of a camera error there. The battery is low, so it ended up cutting off that previous video. But I went ahead and finished this thing up, got the dust caps back in there. Of course, I had to pop off one of these pitch link balls to rotate this the other way because they were actually in the wrong orientation. But the head is completely done. We got that Loctited up. Again, be very careful when tightening these small little 1.5s up. Of course, I got these Loctited up. These are already Loctited a little bit just to kind of begin the process, but obviously later on we'll have to undo these and re-Loctite them when you're putting the main shaft in. Okay, so just bear that in mind. We'll get to that at a different step. I don't think there's anything that I am forgetting at the moment, but there is some things I want to touch on when it comes to the tail assembly. So let's talk about that. So right out the gate, what I noticed is that it actually uses the 5.5 Tron tool. It's not the 7mm like the Advanced used. So if you have these from your Nitron or Dynamic kits, then these will work also on the tail for the Elite 7.0. Okay, so just so you know. So if you have 5.5 tools, then those will work also. Now, this is a little bit different than the Advance, so we're going to kind of talk about that for a moment. I'm going to see if I can get some of this stuff in focus here. So as you can see here, there's a Delrin piece in here as well, dampening. There's a little bit of movement there, so it's not totally tight. But what snugs it up is this piece. This is the piece that's actually kind of different for this model. I'm going to shove it onto here just to make it easy. So we can get that. There you go. So see that little step down there? It actually pushes inside of the tail case of the Delrin piece there. And so we're going to do that right now so you can see it in process. All right, so you can kind of see, and I'm just shoving it right down in. There we go. All right, so it is bottomed out. We'll go ahead and get a tool in here just to make sure that we have that all the way down, and we do. These were also greased from the factory, so there was no need to do it. It actually had plenty, but I did, of course, Loctite the pitch link balls there, and we are to the point where we're going to put this together, which is awesome. Let's see here, make sure we got enough showing there. There we go. Of course, we can get our bearings kind of stuffed back down in there. There we go. All right, of course, you have this little tiny itty bitty little washer here. I might have to use a tool to kind of grab that, slide that down over. There we go. There it is. All right, and again, this is a Loctite, or sorry, not Loctite. It is a lock nut. And we're going to go ahead and get this started. Oops, maybe not. I'm holding things in two hands. Here we go. Let's see. There we go. All right. And so we're going to get that started. There we go. And of course, come back and follow it up with this one. And of course, we're going to snug it and just give an extra little turn. Not much. We're going to let the lock nuts do their job. Okay. These, of course, are orientational as well because it has the nut indentation, so we want those facing this way. All right, so now we can pop these guys on, but it needs to go the other way. Hang on a second here, bear with. There we go. Old Finless Bob, bear with. Oops, actually I need to do them at the same time. Shoot. There we go. Oops. That one's right. Sorry, I was looking to make sure that the orientations were correct. Ah! Now they're tight. Let's see here. Get some pliers. There we go. There's one. There it is. All right. So yeah, tail complete, except this one other thing I wanted to talk to you guys about. All right, so let me see if I can even point this out. I think it is a 2. Yeah. Okay. All right. So this is done a little bit differently, and I'm going to see if I can hold this up just so. If you can see this little pin right inside here, there it is. All right. There's not a screw. This is a pin that goes all the way through the pinion and the tail shaft. All right. But how you get that to tighten is there is a set screw that's on the inside here. Now, I know some of you might be thinking like, oh God, not another set screw. This thing is beefy, all right? It's not small. This is a very, very large set screw, okay? It's not like your typical small stuff that you put into your landing gear and whatever. I mean, this guy's thick. So I'm going to put some Loctite on that. I'm just gonna use some 243 on it. That coated up a little bit, maybe just a little dab on the nose of it. And now we're gonna run this back through, okay? But this thing's thick. It's not gonna come out. Through all the testing that they've done, they have not had an issue with the pinned tail. And it has worked very, very good for these guys, all right? So just want to let you know that that's how that works, that there is that pin there. Right here. I'm trying to see it on camera. Yeah, there it is. And it works really well. So no fears on that. But that's where you access it there. And yeah, it works really good. Got everything else Loctited up on here. So we're good to go to start putting this into the boom and getting the boom situated. But I think at first what we're going to do is I will go ahead and, of course, put these back into the tail case just for safekeeping. And then we'll start on disassembling this main gear as well as putting together the center, main brackets that go inside the frame with this main shaft support. Okay, so we'll go ahead and get all those buttoned up, and we'll be right back. Okay, so we've got the main gear taken apart. I do want to point out here that you are going to Loctite all of these, and if you choose to take the sleeve out, that is up to you. It is a Sprag style one-way. It's very beefy. I did Loctite these as well on the auto rotation gear, as well as the inner ones on the mount there. And of course you have to do it on the other side. Now, something to be noted, which I already kind of have it together, is you don't want to separate this main gear. There's little screws inside to hold this two-piece main gear together. Do not take those apart. Same thing as the Advance or the Dynamic Pro. You don't want to do that, because if you get those misaligned, then man, you are sunk. So definitely do not do that, and keep that together. So remember, just these here, of course, make sure the orientation stays the same with the one-way, and of course to the outer edges of the auto rotation gear in the inner, and you're all set with that. Okay. This one for now, I didn't have a whole lot to do. I had this screw here that will adjust the tension of the spring. And I went ahead and Loctited that just so it kind of has a coating on it, so whenever you go to make your adjustments, it'll stay put and not vibrate loose or anything like that. This side, of course, has a lock nut, so you don't need to do this side. However, on this one, there is a screw that goes through to the other side. There is no lock nut, so make sure that you Loctite that as well. And moving on to this, I went ahead and put this together, as you can see. The main shaft support is in there on the main bearing blocks. It is orientational, so make sure that you pay attention to that. While I had this out and open, I went ahead and added the carbon plate to the back here. Those 4 screws were already in place, so you just had to undo those, put the plate down, Loctite it up, and be done. That's all we're going to do with this so far, and we'll move forward. Something else I did do is I went ahead and put the main shaft in. I wanted to revisit for just a second these blade grips here and this way. Funny enough, I saw in the manual that you don't want to use Loctite on these. I had put just a dab, so I went ahead and undid them, kind of cleaned the threads off and wound it back down, simply because, using a 1.5 and using thread locker on that, it could get pretty bad. You don't want to do that and damage your tool, or risk having that not being able to come out, and then not be able to get the dust cap out, and then not be able to take the head apart, and it would be a nightmare. We don't want to do that. But these here too, these just to make note, in the manual it does say that these are pre-Loctited, which is what we found. So make sure you just run those back in if you accidentally take those out. But you don't need to take these 2 screws out of this part here, and they're already done for you. It does talk a lot in the manual about not taking things apart, and things are already greased or things are already Loctited, yada yada. So make sure you're definitely just not looking at pictures, okay? Do some reading and pay attention. But yeah, we're moving right along. The next thing that I'm going to move towards is the boom here, and we're going to go ahead and use that nifty little tool. I don't have it on hand right off the bat here, and of course, what oh, there it is, right here in this package. And a little different with this one. Let me pop this out. I think I kind of touched on this in the unboxing. Let me pull this out here. I want to show you. Hang on. Okay. This is a little different than last time, okay, with the Advance or any other ones. We had this little standoff here that's going to go underneath the mount, so it's going to actually go over the top of it like this. And then you're going to run your screw through this little plastic washer and into the lock nut, which will be inside the boom. Oops, over here, I guess, be better. And but I just wanted to make note that you do in fact see these here. These are important. They need to be underneath this plastic mount, and it gives it the proper, specification for the tail rod to run through and it not be preloaded in any kind of funky little way. So just make sure you pay attention to that and don't lose those, okay? All right, so, oh, one other thing, sorry, moving back and forth here. This was in the package with the main bearing blocks, and this is for a later step. I think it has to do with the anti-rotation bracket, so just keep these in this little plastic bag and note that these are gonna be, whoops, picked up two things at once. Let's see, where was it? In the back here. Yeah, in the back here, maybe it'd be this way, who knows? This is where those screws are going to go, and you'll run this through once you get the anti-rotation bracket in place, and that's what's gonna hold this to the main bearing blocks, okay? So just hold on to this till later. We'll throw that over there in the pile, and then we'll be able to work on that later. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and get this boom assembled and with the tail fin and the tail case attached, and we'll be right back. Okay, so we got the boom done here. Of course, got the tail attached with the very, very bright and shiny orange tail fin. Of course, this is the same as the Advanced and the Dynamic Pro, or even the Dynamic and the Nitron. All of them, they go together the same way. Whenever you're doing this boom, make sure that you pay attention to the orientation of the boom so you know what direction to mount this. It's very important. It is specifically supposed to be on one of the sides to allow for preloading of the tail rod itself. So make sure you're paying attention to that. But yeah, there it is, the boom. Of course, got this big, huge 8mm belt hanging out the front here. Thing's massive. It actually went through the boom very easily. There's been times where I've tried to put belts through booms and they get stuck or bunched up. This one slid right through very, very nicely. I didn't have to fiddle with it at all. It just kind of went right in, so it was pretty awesome. Yeah, all right, so that part is done. Let's put that out of the way. We're now going to focus on some, the little stuff going on. So we've got our supersonic mounts here. It does come with 4. So that way it's very easy to take on and off. And of course on the other side here are the frame spacers for the inside of the frames, as well as the one that holds the 2 rear supersonic mounts for the canopy. I'm going to go ahead and do this since it's right here. I just happened to kind of dig in the box and found it. I'm going to go ahead and do the pitch links as well. That was actually one of the steps previous to doing the boom and tail case there and putting that together. So I'm going to go ahead and get these knocked out. One step that I am not doing just yet, we'll come back to that, is the tail fin. I'm sorry, not the tail fin, the tail rod with the end pieces. I don't know if I can put my hands on that very quickly or not, since I kind of threw it back in the box. No, I can't. But anyway, so we'll go ahead and we'll talk about that as well, and I'll make sure that I take a look at the manual to make sure we're getting the exact measurements. Generally, it's always been 15mm of the rod sticking out of the carbon rod there, but we'll do our due diligence and find out. So currently, right now, we're going to go ahead and put these together, and we'll be right back. All right, so returning, I ended up getting these put together. Let's see, I left one. Yeah, I left one because I wanted to do one on camera with you guys. But essentially, you're going to take these screws out here out of the top. Wrong tool. Oh, it's been a long night. Okay, take these top out here, and you're going to Loctite underneath, and of course put those together. It is a little difficult. You do have to kind of pinch here on this side of the canopy mount and then tighten it down. It will, it's going to grab on your fingers and whatever, but you don't need to turn this very much. It doesn't require a lot of force to get that done and be Loctited good. Of course, I did take off this mount here and Loctited on the inside of there as well. So did that on this one also. And of course, this one, so this bracket comes in one of the bags and it has this tab attached to it. So you take that off and of course put it to the canopy mount also. Loctited that, Loctited the portion of the canopy mount there, and of course the screw in there. So basically what I did, just to kind of show you guys on camera, where'd my Loctite go? Bring that into view here. But I basically just took the screw out, okay, just like this. I removed it from the cap, put the Loctite on it, get enough there, just take a little bit off, okay, and now I put the cap back on, okay, so it's there, and then you just simply, you're going to hold the back part of the mount and then screw that in. And you're just going to kind of grip it as tight as you can and twist. It is going to push against your fingers, this portion right here. But again, finger tight or that tight is good enough. It will. I've never had one of these come apart is what I'm getting at. So, we're good to go there just by doing it hand tight, and you won't have any issues. But those are the completed canopy mounts. I ended up doing the swash links as well as the pitch links. Let me get them in the right orientation here. There we go. Okay, so these pitch links, of course, are at 28 mil on the inside. These go from the swash to the pitch arm, and of course these are the swash to servo links. And as you can see, they are very long. These are a measurement of 34 to 44. It depends on your servo and servo mounts that you use, and not servo mounts, but servo horns and things like that. The position of the servo post. The output post is a little different sometimes on certain servos, so that's why the measurements can sometimes be a little different. So they didn't put an exact measurement; they kind of gave a range, and you of course can figure that out. So a lot of times what you'll do is you'll get this one exact, and then work from the head all the way down to the swash plate, and then obviously do the swash to the servos and make sure that your servos are centered. But again, these are the longer links, and it's because the servos are inverted. They are not where the servo is mounted upright, where the servo to swash links are short. These, of course, being inverted makes the links longer, which then contributes to better geometry through the flow or the travel of the swash plate. So there's less interaction with the longer swash links. So it translates into feel and how it feels in the air, and that's part of the DNA of the Elite 700. So at any rate, got those made up. I put mine to 40 currently right now just as a baseline, and we'll see where we go from there. And I did end up putting this together. I did not Loctite this nut here because this is what goes into the frame. So I'll need to do that later when we get to that step. But this, same as the canopy mount, you have one of those screws. Same deal. Pop that out, Loctite it, and then just tighten it down as tight as you can with holding on to the back portion of the release, and get it as tight as you can. Again, never had that fail either, as far as not having enough Loctite or whatever. So it stays pretty good too. But I think the next thing that we're going to work on is we're going to get to these little inner trays with the frame spacers, and start making this kind of stuff up. And after that, we'll start being able to put the frames together. So I did mention in the unboxing, we were talking about this tray here and how it has these standoffs. Let's see if I can get it. You can kind of see it there, right? So that serves a purpose, and it is directional. So when you have your main bearing blocks here, okay, it's going to go with the standoffs facing the bottom. Let's see if I can get a better view here. Facing the main bearing blocks, and then of course it will run even with the back trays in the boom blocks that mounting hardware of the boom in the back of the frame. So those definitely serve a purpose. You want to make sure that you orientate that the correct way. And yeah, so this is where we're going. We're going to do some plates on the inner part of the frame with the frame spacers, and of course get this mounted up to this guy as well. Then maybe move to the boom supports, well, I guess the mounting hardware for the boom, and we'll go from there. Get the frame standing up. But yeah, I'll catch you in the next one.
Nice, beautiful. Now your noise winder, everybody.
All right, so we went ahead and got some of these internal plates and frame spacers in. Of course, this is for the ESC. As you can see, I've mounted to those. Now, it did come with an extra one in its own pack, but this actually gets mounted below, and it's part of the frame bracing or spacing, where these two, of course, are the ones that are attached to the plate. So just be mindful of that. And there's also one that goes back behind here. You'll see that here shortly. Yeah, it does have multiple different holes, of course, to mount your favorite ESC onto there. So be mindful of that. If you need to utilize this hole here, then you may have to actually back this frame spacer up to this side here, okay? So, or to these holes here, sorry. And that way you'll be able to utilize that. That will take some doing. Once I get the ESC, I'm actually using an ESC that I've never used before, so I will have to figure that out, of course, once I get to that point. But again, they provide multiple different mounting locations, which is pretty nice to not have to drill your own holes and things like that. So we will get to that step a little bit later on, and we'll figure it out together based on the ESC that I'm using. But at any rate, so there we go. That's completed for that. This, of course, is the flybarless mount. Same deal. Just mount those brackets there, or the frame spacers there. And I went ahead and got the boom brackets here. And mounted those up. Also in one of the packages, you have one that has screws already in this frame spacer here, and that's of course where this goes. If you follow the manual, it's really not that hard, but you could see where these go, and it's pretty easy. But I went ahead and got these done. And so I think the next step, of course, is to start working on the frame itself. Be sure that you choose the correct frame. As you can see here, this is not for the servo mounting. These are for brackets and things like that are going inside the frame. This, of course, is for the servo, and just make sure that you start with the correct one, and you don't have to go back and undo everything that you've done. So at any rate, that's the next move, is we're going to start working on the inner portions of the frame and start getting this stuff mounted up. Should go pretty quickly now. All right, so I worked ahead a few steps. This actually consists of page 32, 33, and 34. As mentioned, I put these frame spacing in here. There's a couple extra in package that you'll see, including like this one here especially. This was included with this entire tray and its counterparts of brackets that it mounts to. I did have to turn this over. I noticed that using the spacing, or using the holes that I had used, it didn't line up with the frame. So it actually turns the plate over. And so you can see where the screws fit in those little divots there. And you'll put a nut on the other side to mount your ESC, okay? So got the canopy frame spacer there, as well as the canopy mount on there as well. I did work ahead beyond page 32 and 33, 34, and I put this in there as also. As you can see, there's that little spacer. Make sure the spacer side goes towards the main bearing blocks there, and of course the screw goes in from the bottom. Okay, so also of course got the boom mounts there as well, and of course the tensioner in there as well. So we are moving right along and getting it done. Of course, got the servo mounted up, and got that in there as well. Of course, got the rear set canopy mounts on there. And yeah, we'll move on to the next steps. All right, so I did a lot of working ahead, but I wanted to come back to this side frame area and show you what I've done. So I have these servos in here now, of course, on top of the cyclic there. Of course, I already had this elevator servo in there, but what I did do is I ended up, get this in camera view here, that would help. I ended up heat shrinking this part of the wire, which goes in by the side there, but goes through the frame. So you always want to make sure that you're trying to protect your wiring the best that you can. I hope it's picking that up. But anyway, so on the other side, let me get these out of the way. I wanted to show you how I was doing this here. There is right on this side, let's get a tool, maybe better. There is a slot there to be able to run a zip tie. So underneath the flybarless tray there, you can see how I wrapped it in Velcro and utilized that. This would be a lot more difficult if the other half of the frame was on. That's why I'm showing this right now, because if it was all together, it would be that much more difficult to do some of this wiring. Not saying it would be impossible, but it wouldn't be as fun, that's for sure. So that being said, what I did do here underneath with the two wire runs that come from the cyclic servos, there is two slots here as well, okay, right there and there, and of course it wraps around that tray, and I again put some Velcro around hook and loop tape there, as well as the zip tie to hold the wires in place so that it stays out of the way of the servo horn on the elevator servo. Okay, so so you can see that in there, and that just really tidied up the wires, like coming back towards the back here, and it you know, obviously added a more clean wiring approach. But I had to do it with that other half, this other half side of the frame here off of it, because, you know, to get my fingers in there would have been a little tough. But at any rate, so that's where we are with the servos and the wiring. Of course, I added this bottom bracket for the bottom of the main shaft. As I think I mentioned before, it tapers down from a 15 mil down to a 12 mil, and in case I didn't show that, that's what that taper looks like. It has a, get in focus there. Come on, work with me here. Hopefully you can see that. I'm not sure. I don't know if it, maybe getting that out of the way helps. Whatever, it's not doing focus. Anyway, but you can see that. And I went ahead and got the motor in, got the motor mount in. You can see good glare right there. We're going to use that as a place. So you would have to take these two screws out in order to access this 1.5 there, and there's one that is right between these two screws, and the only way to get to that, is you would have to remove those other two screws that are beside it because of the washers, okay? So remove these two screws, and then of course very gently Loctite this. Do not over tighten, and you'll be all set there. I still have mine where it's able to move. So on the other side here I have the Tron bracket and all done up there. And yeah, so at this point I think we are to the point where we are going to add the second frame now, or the other half. I went ahead and worked a little bit on that, and I got the tail servo in there. This is what the bracket looks like, okay? And then of course mounted up, it looks like this, okay? I also put heat shrink on this wire because it is going to run through the frame there, and then of course it will come around this edge here. So I wanted to make sure that I had enough heat shrink to protect that servo wire. So make sure you protect your servo wires, you guys. Don't want them getting cut on the carbon frames because it can happen. But also got the battery release button in there, as well as the other side of the battery rail, which, as you can see, I don't know if we talked about it in the previous video of this one here, already have been mounted. And but yeah, I think we're to the point. I'm gonna look one more time just to be sure, but I think the next video you'll see is this together, and after that I think we can start building the lower half, And man, we're close. We are close at this point. So we'll see you in the next one.
The guy is an old guy like me, not as old as me, but he's older. He's only 15 or 20. He's older. It's a little harder to do stuff this because
All right, so moving right along, I did get the other half of the frame on the other side here. Something to note, just so you guys know, the frame bracing that are in conjunction with these lower frames, the plastic standoffs, when you're putting those frame bracing in there, I would not... Let's see, can I get? I actually did the battery tray too, but I'll get that out of the way. So there's the frame bracing there, one there, and there's, you know, the one back here as well. There we go. But anyway, when you're putting those in, there's 5 of them total. You don't want to Loctite those screws. You just want to, you know, put them in place, because you're going to end up taking those screws back out to get the, you know, lower portion of the frame mounted up to it. Okay, so I'm just throwing that out there. Of course, do it however you wish to do, but yeah. So we're got the lowers on, of course. Did get the landing gear mounts on there as well. I did end up doing the battery tray, and as you can hear, it snaps in place. So we got that. All right, nice and tight. Right, so pretty good stuff. But I think that was it. Oh, so another thing that you don't want to Loctite, oh, sorry about that, is the lower bearing block. You don't want to use Loctite on that just yet until you get the main shaft in there, and then at that point you'll Loctite those. Same with the motor. I mean, obviously I had mine where it was still able to move around, and making me a liar here. But anyway, you know, you don't want to Loctite that just yet either until you get your gear mesh right and do all the things. But all right, so I think we're going to go ahead and get the landing gear on. I might come back one more time. I need to do the tail linkage rod with you guys. I actually want to do that on camera, at least one of the sides, to show you how I do it. I know a lot of people have different ways of doing it, but I'm going to show you how I do it. And then after that, it'll be the final with the head installed, main gear, and of course the boom and canopy on, all the fun things. And yeah, we'll wrap this thing up. Okay, as promised, I'm going to do this on video. I already have some epoxy mixed up here. Don't ignore my mixing tool. It's terrible. It's a broken tip, so whatever. For those that are like, oh my God, what's he doing? So at any rate, I mixed up epoxy. I use epoxy just simply because I don't like the idea of using CA. I think I've used CA in the past. It did not work for me. I know some people do. If it does, works for you, great. But you do sand down the edge here. You can probably see the discoloration there a little bit, okay? Because we want to make sure that when this fits over it, it is adhering. The manual, of course, said to use or to set this to 12 mil. So that's what we have that set to. We'll check it again after we're done. So what I do is I really gunk this thing up. I don't mess around. So I end up putting some inside of there, of the carbon rod. Then, of course, I apply it to the area on the outside that has been sanded. Make sure that it has plenty on there. Okay. And then, of course, I'll set that down for just a second. I'm going to add it inside of this, inside there, okay, and kind of mix it around and whatever, because ultimately I want it to be everywhere. I want it to be all in there. And yes, it becomes unadjustable at that point. But once I put it together, I give it a few spins inside the cap there just to make sure, and I take my finger and I wipe the excess off, okay? And then we're going to, since it's not dry, we're going to take and measure this one more time just to make sure that it is in fact the 12 mil that it needs to be per the manual. Yep, we're good there. And as you can see on this side, I used clear tape to hold it. It's like packing tape. And I do that because sometimes there's like air pressure inside of it, and it will force the cap to come off, or the end piece to come off. So I end up taping it like this, all right, to make sure that it stays put. And then you just cut the tape off, peel it off whenever you're done, okay? So obviously, like I say, I already did the other side, so that one is done. But yeah, I don't use CA. I know some people do, and it's totally cool if you do. If that's what you do, awesome. If it's been working for you, even better. But I do know that, you know, through the years of using epoxy, it's just been sort of my go-to. Some people use JB Weld too, so you could try that. It really just depends on what your favorite adhesion is, whatever you want to use. But epoxy, I use a 5-minute. I do not try to put the ball links on after 5 minutes or even an hour. I let it dry completely overnight because I don't want to, you know, I want to make sure that I'm not twisting, you know, the rod inside of the carbon tail rod, push rod, because, you know, I want to make sure that that's fully cured. But at any rate, that's how I do it. I don't know how you guys do it. Some of you real seasoned guys might have a better way. If you do, let me know. This will be on Bill Ann's YouTube channel for viewing. So put a comment down below and see. Yeah, I'd love to see what you guys, you know, use. Some people, you know, too, they will drill like a little pilot hole to allow that air to escape, because whenever you're pushing this on, it creates pressure, and sometimes it can kind of like start sliding back off, and so that's why I put it on there, and then of course I tape it off to make sure that that does not happen. But some people use a pilot hole. I never liked that idea just because I felt like maybe potentially it would create a weak spot. It's probably not even true, but I don't do it that way. But at any rate, I just wanted to kind of show you guys how I do it on video so you know. And of course, if you have any questions, let me know. All right, you guys, here it is. It is all finished and buttoned up, except for radio gear. This was just a build video, so the landing gear is on, skid pipes are on. I actually did these little rubber grommets that come with the kit. The funny thing is when I put the canopy on, it doesn't seem as if it needs it. The canopy doesn't actually touch the carbon frame, but when you do put these on, it does touch, but it touches against the rubber grommet there. So I'm gonna try it out. I'm gonna see what it's like. If it's something I don't like, then I'll take it off. I used epoxy, but it still should come off. Of course, I have an X-Nova motor. I have the 4530 on there. Big motor. I may go down to a 4525. But yeah, man, here's the canopy. Gorgeous as ever. And got to put the radio gear in. Don't have the Neo on there just yet. I fly Neo. Of course, the servo horns have to be put in place. And I'm trying out this ESC. So that's new to me. I might have to lean on some friends, but yeah. So that is the finished canopy off. All right, so as you can see, it is built and complete. I do need to finish some wiring on this before it becomes flight worthy. I do plan on getting you guys some flight footage here soon so you can see it in action with this beautiful new scheme that they have. Whether you're new to the hobby or you're a veteran to the hobby, the manual is as high quality as the kit. It was very simple to follow, and of course there were no surprises or guesswork involved. I do appreciate everyone taking the time to watch this video. I'd like to say a big thanks to Bill Ann YouTube channel, as he's the one that hosts all the videos that I do for Tron Helicopters. And it's no exception with this one. If you have questions, by all means, put some comments down below so that I can get to those questions. And that's something I'm going to start monitoring a little more closely. But thanks to Tron Helicopters for sending this kit out so we could do this build video. And as always, I'm Kevin McGrady from Tron, and we appreciate your support.